Hey everyone, this is Kamran. Welcome to part 3 of building a React application. In our last lesson, we had the basic interface ready. In this lesson, we are going to start working on the interactivity of the application. First of all, we are going to look at the view switcher. So clicking the grid will show us this view. And when you click the list, we are going to have the row-based view that we are going to build in this lesson. So in the list view, our column count is simply going to become 1 here. And now if I go back to the browser and refresh, you will see that we have one row for each of the repository and we don't have the grid anymore. Also, what we are going to do is I'm going to hide the header from here and put the username in front of the repository name. And also this image is going to move in front of the repository details. I've done some changes to the repo component for that. So if you go inside the repo, you will see that we have a variable here isListView set to false. And based on this variable, we are either showing the header or not. Also, we are putting the image in front of the repository based on this variable. If the list view is set to false and if I go to the browser, we have this view shown up. But if I make it true and go to the browser, we have this view shown up. Now, instead of having the variable here, let's make it controllable through the props of the component. So I'm going to remove this from here and put a props here. And this is going to come from the props. Now I can go to the repo. So when I'm calling this component, I'm going to select all the repositories that I have. And for all of them, I'm going to pass, let's say true for now. Now if I go to the browser and refresh, so we have the list view shown up. But if I make it false, refresh, we have this view shown up. Let's make the column count to be 3 again. Refresh, we have our old view back again. Next, we're going to get our view switcher to work. I will go to the filters component and create a new state using useState. So useState is a hook that is exported from the React. What it does is it gives you a variable and it gives you a setter that allows you to set the value inside this variable. Now if I go and console log the view type and go inside the browser and check my console, you will see that the value is undefined. We can give it the default value here. So let's say that our default value is grid. Go back, refresh, you will see that we are getting the console log of grid here. Let's make use of the view type variable. So I am going to remove the console log and go down to the button that we have. And let's say that if the view type is grid, then we are going to make the grid button to be grade or 200. Otherwise it is going to be white, and same for the list. Now if we check the browser, you will see that our grid button is highlighted now. Let's make it dynamic. So whenever user clicks one button or the other, we are going to highlight the button. So for that, I'm going to add the click handlers to both our buttons so that when the user clicks grid, we have the view type set to grid, and when user clicks list, we have the view type set to be list. Now if I go to the browser and click the list button, you will see that our list button is highlighted. If we click grid, grid is highlighted. Next, we need to link the switcher with our view. So when the user selects list, we will show the listing, and when the user selects grid, we will show this grid that we have. So for that, we need to pass the view type from our filters component to our parent component so that we can change the column count here and pass this variable. So what I'm going to do now is we are going to write a listener on our view type. So whenever it changes, so we will do something. So for that, I'm going to add use effect here and give it the dependency of view type. The use effect is a special kind of hook from React that allows you to listen to the changes on the state variables and do something whenever some state changes. So for example, whenever the view type is going to change, it is going to listen for the changes and call this function. So let's say that we will log the view type. So whenever we have the view type changed. Now if I go back to the browser and look at the console, and when we change the switcher from here, it is showing list because we selected list. If we click grid, we are selecting grid. Our listener is ready. We need to pass this view type on change to the parent component so that we can change the view. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a props to the filter. And here we are going to have a property called onViewChange, and whenever the view type is changed, we are going to pass it to the view type that we've got. Now on the parent component where we have the filters inserted, we are going to pass here onViewChange, which is going to be a function which is going to receive the view type. And let's put here console.log inside the feed view type. Now if we go back to the browser, refresh and click the list, you see that in the parent component we are getting this console log inside the feed with list. If we click grid, we have inside the feed grid. Now here, instead of the console log, we are going to have a state, and we are going to set the view type that we receive into the state. Now to make our grid work, we are going to put the columns to be if view type is equal to list, then it is going to be 1, otherwise it is going to be 3. And for our repos, we are going to put the same check here. And now if I go back to the browser, refresh, and if I click list, we are getting the list view. If I click grid, we have the grid view. And with that, our lesson comes to an end. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next lesson, which is going to be the final lesson of the series, where we are going to hook it with the GitHub API and show all the actual repositories and put the filters.